天皇陛下万歳。
Look, I'm not making fun of Japan, okay? I have the utmost respect for the culture and its people, as you can clearly see. With that out of the way, let's commence! I would argue that the events of August the 6th, respectively August the 9th, 1945, were one of the worst, if not the worst days in Japan's history, following the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where modern historians estimate that approximately 230,000 civilians were killed in an instant. It was nothing short of horrific and the biggest tragedy that had behested Japan. But this video is not about this. This video is about the aftermath of those fateful days that shaped Japan's society and culture to its core and at a psychological level. And I would argue that that moment in time was the turning point for not only Japan's culture, but the world as a whole. The Americanization of Japan. Before we get into Gorjia and anime, we have to talk about how the US occupation of Japan played a massive role in reshaping Japan as a nation. The demilitarization and the new constitution of Japan forbade them from ever having an offensive army and to ever declare war on other nations, stripping down the military and making a small defense force that was more or less a glorified military police or the equivalent of the gendarmerie in France. This marked the beginning of a new and submissive Japan, and surprisingly, the people held almost no resistance to this change, being tired to live in poverty and constant war with all the four major world powers at that time, and being carpet bombed by the US Air Force. So the cultural export of America to Japan began with implementing a democratic system, reshaping the education system based on American indoctrination. Education. The sovereignty was transferred from the emperor to the people, aka the corporations, stripping the emperor of all its political and military power, making him just a simple figurehead. So the USA took a 2,700-year tradition that existed long before they were even a thought and destroyed it, and replaced it with their shallow values of consumer culture. The Japanese, being poor and desperate to get out of this economic calamity they found themselves in the aftermath of the war, embraced the American way of life, as the US administration and corporations bought almost all the land and businesses and made a monopoly on virtually everything regarding their economy. The traditionally established Japanese family didn't survive those reforms, as the new civil code brought equality between men and women. The nuclear American family model was followed. The Shinto national religion was also affected, being separated from the state following the new American-made Japanese constitution, where it granted religious freedoms to all individuals, making Japan a secular country. That affected the percentage of the Shinto followers from virtually everyone in Japan following it before the end of the Second World War, to today only 70% are followers of Shinto. So the US didn't totally succeed in destroying the religion of Japan. Ah yes, America! Destroying cultures and religions all over the world in the name of freedom and democracy since 1776. Okay, now back to Gorjia! The character of Gojira is the physical embodiment of atomic warfare. A creature that has no emotion, no motivation, no agenda, no consciousness, just primal rage, set on one thing and one thing alone: destruction. Not like your Hollywood bastardized version of Godzilla that is basically Captain America without a shield with his butt buddy in the back, Tyrone. When Gojira premiered in Japanese theaters in 1954, there were people reported to leave the theaters in tears and visibly distraught, not because it was a scary movie, but because it was tragic for them and a reminder of the events of Hiroshima and Nagasaki that were fresh in the public mind at that that time, being no less than 9 years since that fateful event. Compared to today, with the premiere of the latest Gorjia -1 in December 2023, the latest adaptation of the iconic radioactive lizard remains faithful to the original while innovating with better visual effects than Hollywood ever did on their poopy version of Godzilla. The film, being an instant hit with a very modest budget of $50 million, made a box office of $116 million, that is 7.5 times its budget compared to its contemporary counterpart Godzilla x Kong. And no, that is not the name of a hentai spin-off between Godzilla and Kong, that is the actual official name of the movie. Making less than 4 times its budget, that was 10 times higher than its Japanese counterpart. This shows that Japan can do a much better movie with a fraction of its budget, delivering back its artistic value tenfold, and in my personal opinion, the best Gojira movie ever made. Admit it, Hollywood, the Japanese just do it better. The direct influence of the atomic bomb on the Japanese art doesn't end here. You have lots of animes like Barefoot Gen or Hadashi no Jin, an anime about how the atomic bomb affected the lives of the people of Japan. Grave of the Fireflies is another great example of an anime drama depicting a brother and his sister trying to survive the US carpet bombing in one of the most tragic movies ever made. You know, I don't usually cry at movies, but this one was one of the only ones that actually made me tear up, and I definitely recommend you watch this masterpiece. Another classic would be the sci-fi masterpiece Akira, and if you haven't seen it, remedy that ASAP Rocky! Other anime series that are deeply influenced by the culture of the atomic bomb is none other than the iconic Neon Genesis Evangelion. And if you haven't seen that, I mean, what are you doing with your life? Bro, I'm such a weeaboo right now for Japan. Code Geass takes a rather political approach to the subject matter, criticizing American imperialism in a subtle way. And of course, the popular Attack on Titan, that is a straight-up masterpiece of a series criticizing war, political indoctrination, and a subtle jab at globalism. The end of the Second World War saw the rise of a genius filmmaker from Japan. Oh, you bet your ass I'm talking about Akira Kurosawa! With film masterpieces that came out recently after the end of the war like Rashomon, Ikiru, or Shinjin no Samurai, or Seven Samurai for you Yankees, along with his 2 favorite actors with whom he would make 20 plus collaborations each. That is Takashi Shimura and the peerless Toshiro Mifune, that rose to stardom not only in Japan but worldwide. Kurosawa would also dip its toes into Soviet cinema with the movie Dersu Uzala, a slow, relaxing masterpiece about a friendship between a Mongolian nomad and a Russian army captain. With more than 30 movies under his belt, many of them being outright masterpieces, Kurosawa established himself as one of the greatest directors of all time, with a very diverse catalog of different films from different genres, surpassing, in my opinion, many of the Hollywood greats. The atomic bomb was also a catalyst for the resurgence of a popular medium known as manga. That is the equivalent of the American comic books, or pulps, rapidly taking over the comic market globally, surpassing the American comic books and the French bande dessinée. The manga medium has fed inspiration to the anime industry with countless adaptations from the original source material. The anime industry is today a behemoth that dominates animated movies and TV series worldwide. But also, we are in 2024 and still no proper Berserk adaptation, so Japan, remedy that ASAP. And now we get into the ugly side of the repercussions of the atomic bomb, and that is one of them, the otaku culture, which is frowned upon by most normal people. Otakus are weird, alienated individuals that indulge in consumerism, degeneracy, and basically weird stuff. Yeah, basically like the average American, only they're less fat. Another plague that affects the life of the Japanese people is loneliness. It's a weird phenomenon that doesn't have a clear root cause, but it is safe to assume that the hustle culture, which is known in Japan as the workaholic culture, that they can't manage their social lives with their job life. Some corporations even paying their employees to stay at home and take a break from time to time. Another big issue that is plaguing Japan is the self-exit game issue. That is Japan even has a forest named Aokigahara, dubbed by the locals the self-exit game forest. Loneliness has become so high in Japan, they have rent a girlfriend, sir. What the f? Japan, I love you, but please!
Stop it. Get some help.
Like all the countries in the world, they have problems with rampant consumerism. Topic I criticize so much on this channel, and rightfully so. Japan has created many beautiful works of art and had spawned so many cultural IPs that will perhaps take me hours to talk about. I know I missed a lot of aspects about the Japanese culture post-World War II, and I ask you, please share some of them with me in the comments. After so many hardships, so many attempts at subverting this nation, Japan still is regarded as one of the most traditional countries in the world that preserve their culture. Unlike the West, Japan still has strong roots tied to their cultural identity. Granted, not as strong as they used to be, because USA has done a pretty good job at subverting Japan by denying them the right to have an army, meaning the right to defend themselves in case of a Chinese invasion. Which is so ironic because the US Constitution grants their citizens the right to defend themselves with firearms. A thing I find very hypocritical, but I digress. Shinzo Abe, the longest-serving Prime Minister of Japan, promoted traditional values and wanted rearmament of Japan, thing that is in effect as of making of this video, and he addressed, in my opinion, the most pressing issue that affects not only Japan, but so does it affect Russia, Europe, China and Korea. And that is a low birth rate and an aging population because we are not having children. Oh, poor Abe. He just wanted Japan to have children, and what did he get? 2 bullets in the chest by a crazy brainwashed commie. Oh wait, I made a pleonasm. I think that this moment in time in 1945 was perhaps the most crucial moment in Japan's course as a culture and a nation, and it had shaped their identity to its core. I think the lesson here is to acknowledge the bad things that has spawned from that horrific day and appreciate the beautiful things that rose from the ashes of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And let's hope for a brighter future for this beautiful nation and beautiful people of Japan. So Japan, chop chop, go make some babies. Europe, I'm talking to you as well.